Many people think being a good listener just means not talking, but it's so much more. It's an active process.
Oh, I totally know what you mean. Sometimes I'll be quiet in a conversation, but my mind is just planning what I want to say next instead of really hearing them.
So basically, we have to understand the difference between active listening and passive hearing. They are not the same thing at all.
Right. I think I know, but explain it to me.
Well, imagine passive hearing is like hearing background noise, a car alarm outside, or music in a coffee shop. You hear the sound, but you don't process it. In a conversation, passive hearing is when you're quiet, but you're just waiting for your turn to talk, or you're thinking about your reply instead of focusing on the other person.
Oh, I see. So passive is just receiving the sound, but active listening is more like...
Exactly. Active listening is like being a detective. You're fully engaged. You're not just hearing the words, you're paying attention to their body language, their tone of voice, and the emotions behind the words. Your main goal is to understand, not just to reply.
So what you're saying is, it's not about me and my response. It's 100% about trying to see the situation from their point of view?
Yes, that's a perfect way to put it. And you show you're doing this by how you respond. You use little words like you just did. Right. Okay. I see. That signal, I'm with you, keep going.
So, Daniel, do you have any kind of real-life experience where you really felt the difference? Maybe a time someone was listening to you passively, and then someone else truly listened.
Yes, of course. I actually have a perfect example from just last week. I was feeling really stressed about a big project at work. I was talking to a colleague about it, and I could tell they were just waiting for their turn to speak. The moment I finished, they immediately jumped in with a story about their stressful project. I left that conversation feeling even more alone with my problem.
Right. So that's a classic example of passive hearing, or maybe even one-upping.
Exactly. But later that same day, I saw another friend. I started telling her the same thing, and she did something different. She put her phone away, looked me in the eye, and just said, "Wow, that sounds really tough."
Okay, so she started with empathy.
Yes, and then she asked me, "So what's the most frustrating part about it for you?" That question made me think deeper, and as I was answering, she would just nod and say, "I see," or "Uh-huh." She wasn't trying to solve it, she was just understanding.
So what you're saying is, because she was actively listening, you felt heard and actually figured out the core of the problem yourself?
If I understand correctly, that's the magic of it. By reflecting back and asking good questions, a good listener helps you find your own answers. I walked away from that conversation feeling 100 times later and actually knowing what to do next. She didn't give me a solution, but her listening was the solution.
You know, after that story, it really strikes me that being a good listener is like a superpower in social situations. The benefits must be huge.
They absolutely are. Maybe the biggest one is that it's the fastest way to build rapport and foster trust. When people feel heard, they feel valued. And when they feel valued, they trust you. It's the foundation of any strong relationship, whether it's with a friend, a colleague, or even a family member.
That makes so much sense. So it's not just about being nice, it's strategic too. Like at work, if you listen well, you probably avoid misunderstandings because you catch all the small details, right?
Exactly. Think about it. How many arguments start because someone missed a key detail or made an assumption? Active listening helps you avoid conflict because you're focused on truly understanding the other person's point of view before reacting.
And it must help you solve problems faster.
100%. You can't fix a problem you don't understand. By listening deeply, you get to the real issue much quicker. You're not just treating the symptoms, you find the root cause. Plus, you gain insight you'd never get otherwise.
Insight? What do you mean?
You learn new things. When you stop talking and start listening, you open yourself up to different perspectives, new ideas, and information you never had. Everyone you meet knows something you don't. Good listening is how you learn it.
So what you're saying is the benefits are a cycle. You listen better, which builds trust, which helps you understand deeper, which solves problems, which builds even more trust. It's a superpower indeed.
It's a superpower indeed. And the best part? You don't need special equipment. Sometimes the most powerful tool a listener has is actually very simple.
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes the best thing a listener can say is very short. It's not always about giving advice. It's about the small sounds and phrases that show you're engaged and you care.
Really? Like what? Really is a perfect example of a minimal encourager.
Exactly. Just like you said. Really? That's a great one. Or things like, wow, or that's amazing when someone shares good news. If someone shares something sad, a simple, I'm sorry to hear that, shows empathy without trying to fix it immediately.
Wow, I use those all the time without even thinking. But they really do make a difference, don't they? It's like giving the speaker little green lights to continue.
Right. Those are called minimal encouragers. And then the next level up from those are short follow-up questions. They prove you were actually listening.
What happened next? You ask, demonstrating a perfect follow-up question.
Yes, see? That's the perfect question to keep a story going. Or how did that make you feel to get to the emotion? Or then what did you do? Exactly. And those follow-up questions are the real secret weapon of great listeners.
A secret weapon? How?
Well, a good question does two things. First, it proves you were actually paying attention. And second, it digs deeper into the topic the speaker is interested in, rather than shifting the conversation to yourself.
That's the tricky part, isn't it? It's so easy to hear a word that reminds us of our own story and just jump in. So how do we ask a question that keeps the focus on them?
There are a few simple structures you can use. For example, let's say I told you, I started learning to play the guitar last month. What's a better question than just, oh, cool?
Okay. I could say, you mentioned you started learning guitar. What's been the hardest part about that?
Perfect. See? That's a brilliant question. It shows you listened and you're asking me to elaborate on my experience. It doesn't shift to your story about piano lessons. Another great one is to ask about the future. How are you planning to practice?
I see. So instead of a generic, how's it going, you get specific based on what they already shared. It makes the conversation so much more meaningful.
Yes, and my absolute favorite type of question is one that explores the why behind the story. For example, you mentioned the hardest part is sore fingers. Why was it important for you to push through that and keep learning?
Wow, that question goes really deep. It's not about the guitar anymore. It's about their motivation and perseverance. That must make people feel truly understood.
If I understand correctly, you've got it. That's the power of a great question. It's not an interrogation. It's an invitation for someone to share more of their world. And that is a real gift.
That really is a gift. It makes me think we should probably be honest with ourselves, though. We all have bad listening habits. Let's admit ours and learn how to fix them.
Oh, I love this. And I'll go first. My biggest bad habit is probably problem solving too fast. My brain immediately wants to fix things. If a friend says, I'm so tired, I'll jump in with advice like, you should try meditation, when maybe they just wanted to say, yeah, it's been a long week.
Right. I think a lot of us do that. It comes from a good place, but it can shut down a conversation. My worst habit is getting distracted. Sometimes, in the middle of a conversation, I'll get a notification on my phone and my eyes will just flicker to the screen for a second. It's so rude, and I'm really trying to stop.
Yes, the phone is a huge one. Another classic bad habit is one-upping. You know, when someone shares a story and you immediately say, that's nothing, let me tell you what happened to me. It instantly shifts the focus away from them.
I'm sorry to hear that, she says with a smile, using the empathetic phrase they just learned in a playful, self-referential way. No, but it's so true. I think I sometimes interrupt when I get excited. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just so eager to agree or add to the point that I jump in before they finish.
That's a really common one. The key is to catch yourself. And if you do interrupt, there's a simple phrase you can use to fix it immediately.